skyscrapers going up all around us that we have a tendency to take these engineering marvels for granted. I guess we figure we can build just about anything. Of course, that's not true. It was even less so about 50 years ago when it was one man's dream to put a bridge across the mouth of San Francisco Bay. I got to tell you, most folks thought he was absolutely nuts. Few works of man have been as loved and admired as the Golden Gate Bridge. It is a marvel of both design and ambition, a sweeping, soaring structure whose bold leap across the gate still conveys a sense of human daring. Spanning the gate was an obsession with engineer Joseph Strauss, who spent 15 years convincing skeptics his bridge could and should be built. In 1933, he finally got his chance and set out to build the longest suspension bridge the world had ever seen. Strauss was the genius behind the bridge, but the real heroes of the Golden Gate were the men who built it. 50 years ago, Lou Reggiardo was a 22-year-old Buckenauer cable reeler who went on to become an aerospace engineer. Larry LaFleur spent months dangling hundreds of feet above the water in the wind and the fog, working as a painter. But he remembers those days with great pride.
You were working on the Golden Gate. That was the whole thing. There was pride in it. There was very much pride in it.
Many of the workers were high steel acrobats who faced danger and death on a daily basis.
It's scary at first, I tell you. When you're starting to work, you kind of hold on, especially if you're a newcomer. You hold on. In fact, you put your fingerprints in all the steel, and I mean deep.
They would step from one girder to another and way up in the air and think nothing of it. It was a marvelous thing to see. We used to call them the skyscraper's daredevilers.
I remember one time I had some rivets to paint out in the middle of a cross brace. So I started walking out on this little 2.5-inch angle iron, and I got about halfway out before I realized that one of the angles, or the ends weren't tied down with a boulder, and it started to go down, and I just raised myself up and tippy-toed back real easy on the thing.
The towers were the first to go up. Then the cable was strung. When the roadway was attached, a revolutionary safety net was suspended underneath in hopes of snagging falling workmen before they hit the water below.
I remember I was talking to, there was a painter working across from me one day, and I talked to him, and I was talking to him, and all of a sudden he disappeared on the other side, and I looked down, and here he was down in the net. And he hit it, and I think he was out of the thing on the first bounce, because he came out of the thing like a cat. They had a club called the Halfway to Hell Club. And anybody that fell in and was saved that would have been killed otherwise become a member of the club. But they figured that there was at least 50 guys that were saved from the net.
But the bridge did take its human toll. 11 men died. Still, that was considered remarkably low for the time.
San Francisco, open your golden gate. You let no stranger.
When the bridge was opened in May of 1937, much of San Francisco turned out to celebrate. Strauss and his men were honored as heroes. They had even brought the bridge in under budget.
Well, that was a glorious day. There were people that were jamming the streets, waiting to get on, followed by at least a week of open celebration, street dancing, picnicking, and things like this. It was a big thrill. Very, very nice.
You always think of it, I guess everybody that ever worked on it always think of it as my bridge. And I guess that's probably the feeling that you have on the thing. It's a pretty thing. It's a beautiful bridge.
Coming up next,